Hails and welcome to Rauta's Reviews. Today I will tell you about the band and a debut release which had zero expectations, to be honest. I didn't know the name Khora before this. I didn't know who was in the lineup. I didn't basically know anything. So I gave it a few spins, let it seep into my mind, spawn some thoughts, and progress from there to say whatever I wanted to say. Only afterwards, after a few spins, when I was pretty much already sure what to say, I took a look at the lineup, the basic information with the promo sheet and Metal Archive site, and soon find out this band is more interesting than what it actually lets you know in the beginning. So, let's take a look at the band's debut album, because this is indeed an interesting case, but also a little bit of a letdown. As you can see on the cover image, we have quite a lineup of interesting creatures. First and foremost, sort of a Cthulhuan creature. Then I could imagine these other creatures being sort of a godlike beings. If they are something that I should know, I apologize, I don't. But anyway, kind of interesting fantasy themed or occult themed imagery in the first cover image there. And then we have some of the lineup images here, which is presented here in 3 different pages of the booklet. No lyrics, no other imagery, just these guys. Oleg being the founding father of the band, and then some other band members being part of the album. But not only that, this lineup is way more interesting than you can soon find out when I open the Metal Archive site. Now, this backside of the booklet, inlay, is already filled with some of the information. So you can see some of these familiar names from various bands, and also obviously the track list. So lots of information on this page when the booklet is so all thin. Now this is a miraculous case, really, making me wonder what went wrong and in which crossing. Let's take a look at the Metal Archive site. On the Metal Archive site, you can pretty much see what's going on there as basic. You know, you see this weird, I don't know, badly photoshopped cosmic imagery of the so-called lineup. Why so-called? Because it's not exactly the same as in the booklet. If you, however, click on the members list, you will see this kind of a big list of names with members of various bands, but the main guy being Oleg I, which also has who also has quite a list of names of various projects. Now, this is not everything, because I mean you have also some session members which might be mentioned somewhere like here. So you see names like Vikotnik from Norwegian bands, Dødheimskard, I guess, being the main band, you know, also Edwards and the Street. And you have names like Henry Sorvali, Moonsorrow, anyone. You have Simonen from Mandotions. So you have these kind of familiar and successful names from various bands. And then some else. There's no point going to the list as such. So on paper, you know, as theoretically speaking, this album, 40 minutes and so with 11 tracks, is like, okay, this must be a masterpiece. This is maybe not a super group as such, but definitely some huge load of veterans on this band, on this album. So what could go really wrong? Now, the thing is, this might look like a lot of people there doing the music and such, and basically that's exactly what it is. But when we actually go to the core of the band, it's clear that this is a one-man's vision and journey, which is then again supported by these collaborative artists. And while there is nothing wrong with that, I actually love when people do these kind of collaborations. They have guest musicians and session musicians. I think it's great. Be it live, be it an album. But if the basic songwriting, the compositions are great, that all is meaningless. It doesn't matter if you have guys from Metallica or Iron Maiden or Darkthrone or Mayhem or Burzum or whatever band you want to name in the world. Cannibal Corpse, I don't know. It all loses its point if the material within, songwriting, if it's not golden, it's all meaningless. And unfortunately, that's how I feel about this album called Timaeus. I don't know actually how to pronounce it, but let's call it Timaeus by Khora, because to me it seems like this album tries so hard to be a little bit of black metal, a little bit of death metal, a little bit avant-garde-ish, or like it said actually here on Metal Archives, atmospheric black metal. To be honest, I really don't relate this to being most of the atmospheric black metal bands in the world, but that's just me. People might feel a little bit different when it goes to the album, because this is a sort of a hybrid. It's a mutation of sorts where you have bits and pieces from everywhere. And while that may sound like a nice idea with these kind of veterans participating and collaborating with this album, in the end it turns to be, in my opinion, a sort of a mismatch, because there are ideas which don't really belong together, or they don't make sense, or even if they make sense, they don't sound good. So it's more like a random box of ideas. You're like, okay, this is a, I don't know, Rubik's puzzle cube. Go on. Oh, this is a weird piece of a spring. Down, and etc. It's like going to somebody's weird ass porn collection items, like, what is this plug for? I don't know. I don't want to know. And that is how I feel about this album. While technically speaking, it's nice. There is nothing wrong with the production. There is nothing as such wrong with the vocals or individual instruments. Composition-wise, I really can't get into this album. And it's not because it's so complicated, but for me it feels like it's kind of a messy room, You really don't get to put your finger of anything because it all feels kind of a wrong. But not wrong in a way some directors make weird movies. David Lynch, I'm staring at you. So instead of being kind of a Twin Peaks or Mulholland Drive of an album, this doesn't really sound weird. It just sounds like a lazy, or maybe not just fully genius songwriting, composition work, if you will. And to be honest, I find this album to be quite a bit of a disappointment. And this having zero expectations. Well, technically everybody has always some expectations. Based on the cover and the name, I was looking for maybe this is something of an interesting, even though I had no information whatsoever about the lineup. So obviously I had built up some expectations, because otherwise I wouldn't be disappointed, right? So maybe I wasn't expecting much, but I guess I got delivered a little bit less. So in my opinion, this is a mediocre album with some good ideas here and there, and not so much about the lack of experience. That's clearly given that with this kind of lineup it should be way better, but maybe sometimes less is more, no matter what Yngwie J. Malmsteen has to say. With too many cooks, you really may spoil the broth. But don't believe me, check out the links, check out the music, and figure out for yourself. Maybe this 85% here in Metal Archives, maybe that's true and I'm just full of crap. Figure out for yourself, and obviously I hope that you can enjoy this album way more than I did. Thank you for watching, take care, bye bye.